Hello guys, I just got back from seeing Resident Evil Retribution, and now I want to start off by saying that I'm not a big fan of the films. We all know that the films themselves aren't really based off the games, and I did reviews on 1 through 4, so if I forget my true opinions on them, but my favorite out of the four is either Extinction or Afterlife, if I had to pick one. But to me, these films now are just cheesy little action films that reference Resident Evil characters and so on, and some enemies, and it's kind of cool. But I just want to say that, yeah, I just want to clear that out, because I'm a big fan of the games, you guys know, and so I'm not one of these guys who always likes the movies, but trust me, I try to like them, so it's not like I'm hating them with everybody else. It's just like, you know, the last one that I did was Afterlife. About 2 years ago, I did the review when I got back, so now I'm kind of sticking with tradition, and I saw Retribution. I saw the film in 3D, yeah, I usually don't go for 3D. As you saw in my video yesterday, I said that I'm not very big on it, but I went to go see it in 3D. I figured, what the hell. The 3D was actually pretty good this time around. They added more scenes in there that are good for 3D, unlike, you know, Afterlife, when it was just the axe. I think that was the only thing that kind of, and that happened again, but it wasn't as effective. But there's more cool, like, blood splatters and more stuff for 3D. The cinematography looked absolutely gorgeous. It looked really good. It looked just nice, and all the characters are they okay? Well, I just want to say that Chris and Claire, and this isn't spoiling anything because you know from the casting. Now, I didn't know this. Chris and Claire aren't even in the film. This is my one complaint. They never tell you what happens. They don't. They don't say that they die. They don't say that they live. It never happens. They just don't tell you, and that pissed me off. They didn't even say that they're somehow still alive, so that made me mad. When they don't explain things, just like how they didn't really explain Jill. It took you a while to understand that. So that was one flaw that it is a flaw, because it's kind of like a plot hole. What the hell happened? Why is everything frozen? But anyway, so basically this takes place, I think, right after Afterlife, and basically Alice is sent in to an underground facility, which are a bunch of like the underground umbrella facility, and she's stripped from her powers, so she has human powers now, and she's in this underground new hive type place where it simulates like Tokyo, New York, Russia, all these other testing grounds for the virus, and so Umbrella and the Red Queen return, basically, and they just control everything. So the whole movie basically takes place underground, and you got this new squad. It's Luther, I believe his name is, Leon, Barry, two other guys, I don't even know their names, and they go in and they have to rescue. Now, Alice is working with Wesker this time around, and this isn't a spoiler, this is part of the plot, and Ada Wong as well, and they basically try to fight through and get out, into the real world, because they're just trapped in an Umbrella simulator and controlled by Umbrella, so they got to get out. And the squad with Leon, who Leon leads, tries to go in and get Alice and Ada out, and try to continue on in the real world, because a lot of it goes back into her past, or goes back into her life that could have been. But anyway, so yeah, that's the plot. So it's basically, it goes back in time, or it goes into different parts of the outbreak and stuff. They introduced Los Plagas, finally, which I thought was kind of cool, but kind of stupid to introduce it now. The characters themselves were kind of cool. Alice was, you know, whatever. Jill was pretty sexy, even though she didn't do much. You know, Leon, Barry, and to be completely honest, even Ada, I mean, they were all very cookie-cutter characters. And along with Chris and Claire not being able to even be in the film, not knowing what their fate was, I don't know, a lot of it was just kind of rushed, not very well developed, and I kind of felt like a little bit more comfortable with the Afterlife setup, even when you met Chris. It was kind of weird at first, but I felt like it was more organized. And, you know, like, and with all that stuff. So I think that that's just, I don't know, I found that weird. The enemies are really cool in the film. I think that, like, you know, the Lost Plagas, like I said, and the parasites are still in there, and the zombies are kind of rarely in there. They're more in the film at the end as well. And in Afterlife there wasn't as much, but there's more in Retribution, and the story is just I wasn't really feeling it. You know, it went by really quick in the theater, so that's cool. It was entertaining. Some of the CG looked kind of bad, to be perfectly honest. Some of the flips looked kind of tacky. The cinematography was great, but everything else was kind of cool. The fighting was really cool. They had very unique things where it kind of zooms in on the person's bones as it breaks and stuff like that. The film itself was kind of entertaining. There was very little humor moments, and when there was, I didn't really find myself finding it that funny. The cookie cutter characters, Barry, Leon, it was cool to see them referenced, you know, being a fan of the game, but they're really just choppy characters, and they didn't do much for me. But my favorite out of the new characters was Ada. I think the actress who played her was very cool, kind of fit the role, and yeah, she didn't have the best acting, but I just thought that it kind of hit the key points. It's a Resident Evil film by Paul W.S. Anderson. What do you expect? So, I mean, I always enjoy these films, seeing them in the theater, seeing them with friends. I always enjoy it. It's always somewhat nostalgic for me. I have a place in my heart for these films, regardless of them being terrible when you compare them to the games, but on their own, they're still laughably bad sometimes, but at the same time, they're decent films. I mean, they kind of are. Because you know, years ago I would have criticized this whole video saying how bad it doesn't match up to the games, but like I said, we're at the 5th film. They're going to make a 6th one, which was already confirmed by the studio, and it's at the point where you can't go into this thinking you're going to see something that like the game. Yeah, there's references. There's a lot of Resident Evil 4 references in this, by the way, so get ready for that. Just Ada with a knife, just remember that. Anyway, yeah, so, yeah, you can't go into these movies anymore expecting it to be like the game. So when you go in, if you're a fan of Resident Evil, just enjoy yourself. They're just kind of fun, cheesy action films. So I'm not going to say I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm not a guy who gives, I give it 3 stars out of 5. I don't have a rating system. I just express my opinion in my own, you know, goddamn words. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's the film alone was very different from the other films. I really enjoyed Afterlife a little bit more. I honestly couldn't tell you why. I really don't know. I kind of left this kind of being like, it was alright, but I remember leaving Afterlife a little bit more satisfied and filled. But not to say that this was bad. A lot of you probably have seen it or will see it this weekend. I think you should. I don't think you guys should hate it. Should you see it in 3D? It really depends on what your opinion on 3D. It doesn't make a difference. You're gonna get the same experience. So don't even like think about that. It's just like, the movie is the movie, so you don't really have to see it in 3D, because the film isn't going to really change. I just think it looks a little bit more better in 3D because it is shot differently on different cameras, different resolution and stuff like that. But that doesn't take away from the film. Not really. But if you're a Resident Evil fan and you kind of like the films, I mean, go see it. This probably would be one of my least favorites, because it just... The plot was kind of all over the place. There wasn't many scenes that were, you know, that were very action packed. There was, but it was just all over the place. Afterlife kind of had a basis, like, you know, the world is basically all fucked up, and they basically are going on in this prison and stuff like that. So it was more. I don't know, it was just more different. This one was kind of jumping from like in different realities, because it was an umbrella computer technically, in the Hive, a new Hive. So my complaints about the film, the characters are kind of lackluster. I didn't really feel for them that much. And they weren't developed very well. The Chris and Claire thing was, and even Kmart, if you want to include her dumbass, it was not explained. And I hate when they fucking do that. No, wait for the next film. Why should I have to? I was looking forward to seeing Chris, and I'm not a guy to look at all the trailers or look up online, so I just go see it. So that kind of pissed me off. The plot wasn't as interesting, but it still kind of held my interest because of it was a Resident Evil. If this was another film that didn't have Resident Evil, I probably wouldn't have seen it. And that goes for all the films. But all in all, those are my complaints. It's just like, and some of the effects were kind of cheesy. But other than that, I mean, it is what it is. It's a Resident Evil film, and I found myself enjoying it. I found myself sitting there and just kind of forgetting things and everything that's been going on, and just kind of, you know, turning the switch off and just enjoying myself for an hour and some minutes. It's not a very long film. It moves very quick, and some scenes are kind of stupid and kind of just pointless, and you're like, why did they keep that in? But again, it's like cheesy effects and stuff. There still is slow-mo in the film, not as much as Afterlife, and it's not as unnecessary, but sometimes it just makes the film look so fake. Like when they do flips and it's slowed down, it doesn't do it for me. It really doesn't. And Alice and Jill do like the most flips in the film, or when they're running away, it's just unnecessary. I'm just like, it doesn't really build suspense. So in a way, there was kind of just as much as Afterlife, but not as much. That's another thing about in the effects category, but you know, like I said, I don't have a one rating system, but I can say is like, look, if you're a Resident Evil fan and you have an appreciation for the films, then go see it. Even if you're not, like, and the films, like, you know, the films aren't even comparable to the games, but I'll still go see it. That's how I am. Or if you're just a guy who doesn't give it a chance and is a hard ass and doesn't care, then I understand, because you don't want to waste money. Download it when it comes out on DVD, or actually buy the DVD or Blu-ray, then that's fine. But if you're a hard ass who just doesn't really like it at all and doesn't give it a chance, I don't think you should be, because I mean, it's Resident Evil. I mean, it's still cool, but I mean, like I said, your opinion's your opinion. I'm just saying that I found I don't like the films, you know, when it comes to comparing it to the games, but on their own, they're just kind of fun to watch. They're, like I said, they're cheesy action films, and that's what I knew going in. I'm not going in expecting Resident Evil 5 or Resident Evil 6 on the screen. You know, they made their own story out of it. It's like their own action. It's just action. It's not even horror. And it's cool to see references, and I just enjoy it. I'm not a pessimist when it comes to films anyway. Maybe other things, many other things, but it's like, go listen to my Afterlife review. I enjoyed Afterlife too. It wasn't that bad. It could have been better this time around. They're apparently making one more. It left on a cliffhanger. That's not a spoiler, just left on a cliffhanger. And they already announced they're going to make another one, so maybe in 2014 we will see another one, and I'll go see it. But I'm looking forward to a reboot, and if they ever reboot it, I hope they do it right. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's it. So thanks for coming by. Thanks for listening to this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I just kind of hit the main points I wanted to say. You know, the characters and everything else, and everything else. The action was all there. It's an action flick, and some cheesiness here and there, some stupid character development, or no character development whatsoever. But it was decent, and you know, wherever you fall on when it comes to the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil series is really wherever you really fall on. I mean, I can't be the one to tell you what to do and what not to do, but I really enjoyed this film. I think that, you know, I really enjoyed it for just a weird action film, but as a Resident Evil film, it is what it is. You know, it's if you really want my look on all the action films, the Resident Evil action films, I'm just gonna say average. You know, they're just kind of either below average, or some are better than others. But like I said, just don't go in there being like, oh, it's not like the game. It's just like, it hasn't been like the game since 2001 or 2002, whenever the first one came out, okay? So deal with it. Because until we get a reboot, you're not going to see something. But the references are cool, and the soundtrack's really good as well. The music is really good. I enjoy the music a lot. So I appreciate all. Sorry, phone went off. Anyway, so yeah, I really enjoyed the music as well. That kind of adds to it. It's kind of like techno. It's not really dubstep, except the one song with Chino Moreno from Deftones. But I enjoyed it. I like the soundtrack in RE Afterlife as well. But anyway, I'm just rambling on about the music. But anyway, that's my opinion. So it's kind of a little bit below average if you really want like my just kind of final looks on it. But like I said, you'll just enjoy it if you just want to see something. But if you want to save your money, I understand. If you're a Resident Evil fan, I mean, I don't see why not. But most of you said you couldn't wait to see it. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. And just let me know what your opinions are if you've seen the film. If you haven't, then just tell me. You can tell me why you don't want to see it. I'm open for all opinions, guys. So I appreciate you. Thanks for coming by. And like I said, this weekend, more Code Veronica will be getting finished and uploaded to you guys within the next weeks or so before Resident Evil 6. So yep. Not this weekend, but starting next week, keep on the lookout for more Let's Play parts. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Maybe you agreed, maybe you disagree, maybe you just have a different opinion altogether. So thanks for coming by. I appreciate all the support. So yeah, see you guys later.